call from Cathy Engelbert. Did y'all call Caitlin Clark? Did Cathy Engelbert go and address social media when Tiffany Hayes was inciting fans to physically harm her off the floor? Did y'all go and do this whole victimhood thing when Myisha Hines-Allen stood up for her Indiana Fever teammates in the first game versus the Phoenix Mercury, and she was called all type of coons and names online because of it? Did y'all do all of this then?
Choose your side. That's really what this boils down to. Because this isn't just some coach talking at a podium. This is a real decision about who gets protected and who gets left out to dry. Stephanie White just showed everyone exactly where she stands. And here's the real question. When your star player is under attack, when her safety is actually at risk, when your own fans get blamed for speaking up, do you back them? Or do you turn your back and join the crowd against them?
And it is absolutely unacceptable. Most of this coming from the online community. Most of this, in my heart of hearts, I believe, not coming from WNBA fans, Indiana Fever fans. I believe that this is people who are using our league, using our players to further divisive agendas. It's not acceptable.
You might as well try to throw Caitlin Clark's name in there. It's very obvious what you're doing. It's very, very obvious what you're doing, and it's nasty. I'm disgusted with what you're doing right now. You have never once stood up for Caitlin Clark like this, besides that whole little fake podium rant you tried to...
Let's get into what actually went down. Stephanie White stood up in front of the cameras, and instead of talking about her team's real problems, she used the time to lecture everyone about toxicity and racism online. But here's the sneaky part. She drew a line, separating real Indiana Fever fans from what she called people using the league to cause division. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. That was planned. She was picking who counts as a good fan and who doesn't. And funny enough, guess which fans packed the arenas this season? Guess which fans pushed ratings to record highs? Yeah, the same ones she's now trying to push away.
Continue to protect our players. We've got to continue to support our players in our league. We get to play a basketball game. And AT was exactly right. We get to play a basketball game. And yes, that's going to come with criticism. Yes, that's going to come with fans and the love-hate relationship that they have with players and teams. That is going to come. But it's not hard to not be a jerk. And if you are one of these...
Watch the language closely here. Our league is built on inclusion. Our league lifts up marginalized voices. That's exactly the problem. This is a basketball league, a place where top players are supposed to battle it out on the court. Yet all we hear about is agendas, activism, anything but the actual game. And when fans just want to watch basketball, just want to cheer for a rare talent like Caitlin Clark, they get branded as outsiders. They get told they don't understand the league, as if loving great basketball somehow makes you the enemy.
Can't boo, the fans can't do anything without y'all crying and complaining. But you know what y'all do take? Y'all take all the new money from the fans. Aaliyah Boston got her $6 million from the fans. Alyssa Thomas making $1.4 million this year from the fans. Y'all want to throw Caitlin Clark fans and call them racist and all of this stuff all the time, but you want to cash the check.
That's when the double standard becomes too obvious to miss. Stephanie White wants fans to follow some perfect standard of behavior. She's upset about rude comments online, about random accounts with cartoon pictures saying nasty things. But let's talk about what she skipped over. Let's talk about Tiffany Hayes, who put out content that seemed to encourage harm against Caitlin Clark off the court. Where was the press conference for that? Where was the anger from the league office then? Where was Cathy Engelbert checking on player safety when that was happening?
Force everybody to be all into that. This is supposed to be a basketball league, bro. Y'all are trying to turn it into something else. And anybody who's not a part of it seems to be an outsider within the league. They seem to be treated like outsiders.
Including and in being inclusive of all different walks of life. That is what our league has always been about from day one. That is what our league will continue.
This league has been an NBA charity league also. Say that. You want to throw Caitlin Clark fans under...
This isn't the first time we've seen this exact playbook. Go back to that season opener against the Phoenix Mercury. Myisha Hines-Allen spoke up for her Indiana Fever teammates, showed real loyalty to the team that signed her, and got buried online with some of the ugliest, most racist comments you can imagine. That was the moment. That was the exact situation that should have triggered a press conference, a league statement, a coach standing at a podium demanding better from fans. Instead, nothing. Total silence. No outrage. No headlines. No coaches lining up to talk about toxic behavior. Because apparently, protection isn't for everyone. Some players get defended. Others just get left to deal with it alone. And that right there tells you everything about what's really going on. Now let's talk about what Stephanie White is actually pointing at when she throws around words like toxicity and hate. She's not talking about some vague internet problem. She's talking about the fans. The ones tweeting, posting clips, arguing in comment sections, keeping the conversation alive. The same fans who turned the Indiana Fever from an afterthought into one of the biggest stories in sports. These are the people who filled the seats and pushed the ratings through the roof after years of the team barely getting noticed. But now, because they're not clapping on command, they've suddenly become the villains in this story. And here's where it gets almost impossible to defend. Nobody said a word. Not one press conference. Not one statement. When Tiffany Hayes put out content that basically encouraged people to go after Caitlin Clark physically, off the court, that happened. And the silence from the league was deafening. So where's the outrage now? Funny how it only shows up when it's convenient. Let's follow the money for a second, because that's where this whole thing falls apart. Aya Wilson signed a $6 million extension this offseason. Alyssa Thomas is pulling in $1.4 million, the biggest salary in WNBA history. Where do people think that money came from? It came from fans packing arenas and tuning in to watch Caitlin Clark play. That's the honest truth. But apparently those same fans aren't allowed to boo a bad call, question a coaching decision, or have an opinion that doesn't fit the script. Do that, and suddenly you're not a real fan anymore. And that's what makes this whole press conference feel so hollow to a lot of people watching it. Stephanie White stood up there talking about how proud she is that the league is on the forefront of social change and elevating marginalized communities. Fine, nobody's against that. But when that becomes the headline instead of the basketball, when it becomes more important than the actual game being played, you start losing the very people who just wanted to watch sports. You make them feel like they're being talked down to instead of entertained. And then, when they get frustrated and start pushing back, you slap a label on them and call it a day. Here's the part that really connects the dots. This press conference didn't come out of nowhere. It came right after Alyssa Thomas said she felt like the league office wasn't checking in on her. And boom, suddenly every coach and player in the league is talking about communication, protection, standing by your players through hard times. All good things to talk about, sure. But here's the question nobody wants to touch. Where was all of this when Caitlin Clark needed it? Because she needed it. She was getting hit with hard fouls that had nothing to do with basketball. She was taking physical punishment that, in any other sport, would have triggered a full investigation. And Stephanie White, she didn't call a press conference. She didn't demand the league step in. What she did do was bench Caitlin Clark. More than once. Almost like the message was, keep your head down, don't make noise, and maybe things will get easier. That's not protection. That's the opposite of it. And that's really the whole problem with how Stephanie White has handled Caitlin Clark from day one. She wants the benefits, the sold-out arenas, the national TV games, the bump in salary cap that comes from having a generational player on her roster, but she doesn't want to actually go to bat for her. She's not willing to be the coach who draws a line and says enough when her franchise player is being treated unfairly. Instead, she saves all that fire and passion for defending other players from a few mean tweets. Real leadership doesn't pick favorites like that. A real leader protects every player, not just the ones who fit a certain narrative. When your best player is under fire, facing more scrutiny and more physical abuse than anyone else on the floor, you speak up. Right then. Not weeks later. Not when it's safe or convenient. Every uncalled foul, every downgraded flagrant play, every unfair criticism Caitlin faced that other players never would have. Those were all chances for Stephanie White to step up and say not with my player. She let every single one of them go by. And now she wants applause for giving a speech about protecting people. That doesn't add up. This is exactly why so many fans who genuinely care about this team are frustrated. They're watching it happen in real time. They see coaching decisions that clearly don't get the best out of Caitlin. They notice the moments where her coach could speak up for her and just doesn't. It's a pattern, and fans aren't blind to patterns. But the second they say something about it, they get thrown in with anonymous trolls posting hate speech. Like there's no difference between a fan raising a fair concern and someone posting something genuinely racist. That's not accountability. That's a way to shut people up. Once you say any criticism equals toxicity, nobody wants to speak anymore, because nobody wants to be lumped in with the worst of the worst. So fans either go quiet, or they get louder out of frustration, and then that anger gets used as proof that they were the problem all along. Let's be real about what's actually happening here. Stephanie White is under pressure. The Fever had a rookie who broke records and pulled unprecedented attention to this league, and the team still barely scraped into the playoffs. That's a coaching problem. The roster didn't fit. The offense didn't put Caitlyn in position to succeed. The defense left her exposed to constant physical play. And when fans started asking hard questions about whether she's the right coach for this roster, she didn't respond by fixing it. She responded by turning the spotlight onto the fans instead. That's what this whole press conference really is, a distraction. Instead of answering, why didn't this team win with this much talent? The story becomes, look how toxic these fans are. It might buy her some good headlines in the short term, but it doesn't fix a single one of the real problems with how this team and this star player are being handled. Now think about the spot this puts Caitlin Clark in. She can't come out and say what a lot of fans are thinking, that she wishes her coach had defended her the way she's defending everyone else. She has to smile, stay professional, keep saying the team is united. But fans see it anyway. They see their favorite player not getting the backup she deserves from her own coach, and that builds resentment. Not because fans are toxic or hateful, but because they care about her, and they can see the roadblocks being put in front of her by the very people who should be clearing the way. So where does that leave things? Stephanie White has shown exactly where her priorities are, policing how fans behave online instead of fixing what's actually broken with this team. Talking about inclusion instead of building a system where her best player can thrive. And she's more than willing to throw the very fans who made this season a financial success under the bus if it takes the heat off her own coaching. The real question is what happens from here. Does Caitlin Clark spend her prime years playing for a coach who won't fully stand behind her? Does she stay in a system that isn't built around her strengths? Or does this eventually force a bigger conversation, a trade request, a coaching change, something? Because here's the truth nobody in this league wants to say out loud. Caitlin Clark has options. Every team would want her. She could thrive in almost any system. And if Indiana can't figure out how to build around her properly, someone else eventually will. Fans see all of this clearly, and that's exactly why they're upset. Not because they're toxic, not because they're difficult, because they know what greatness looks like, and they can see it being wasted. Stephanie White can hold as many press conferences as she wants about protecting players and standing up for her team. But until she shows that same energy for the player who needs it most, none of it means anything. Speeches don't win championships. Actions do. And right now, the actions are speaking louder than every word from that podium. So the next time you hear Stephanie White talk about loyalty, protection, and having her players' backs, remember this moment. Remember she had every chance to prove it with her own franchise player, and she chose silence instead. And ask yourself honestly, is this really the coach who's going to take Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever to a championship? Because from where the fans are standing, the answer looks pretty clear. If you think Caitlin Clark deserves better support from her own coach, drop a comment and let us know where you stand. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the next update on this story.